On Saturday 26 January 2019, at approximately 10 a.m., Judy Wangui, and known to be Joseph Kori's mistress, went to his residence at Safari Park Gardens Estate, Nairobi, with the intention of mending their relationship. There, she encountered Joseph's wife, Mary Kamangara. Unfortunately, the subsequent events unfolded in a devastating manner, resulting in the tragic demise of Mary in the hands of her husband's mistress, Judy. Hello and welcome to Silent Shadows. In today's episode, we will cover the case of Mary Kamangara's demise in the hands of her husband's mistress, Judy Wangui. Join us as we delve into the chilling story of Mary, Joseph, and Judy, a tale of infidelity, heartbreak, and sinister consequences. As always, we approach our stories with empathy and extensive research. If you appreciate our true crime storytelling, support our bi-weekly series by liking and subscribing. Together, we uncover compelling tales of crimes and mysteries in Kenya and beyond, presenting well-balanced narratives that respect the victims and their loved ones. Mary Kamangara was born on 16 June 1979 in Nakuru County, Kenya. She was the third child of Virginia and Jerry Kamangara and John Kamangara Minor, a well-known politician and businessman in Nakuru. Mary was a bright and cheerful child who had a deep love for learning. She attended Rugai Catholic School for her primary education and later continued her studies at St. Columba's High School for secondary education. Mary later pursued a degree in theology at Nairobi Gospel Assemblies, graduating in 2017. Described by her family and friends as a kind and generous individual, Mary always placed the needs of others above her own. She had an unwavering willingness to assist those in need, whether it involved covering school fees for relatives and strangers, contributing to charitable causes, and simply providing shelter to those seeking refuge. Mary had a compassionate heart for both people and animals. Mary and Joseph Kori got married in 2008. They then went on to have 2 children together. 4 years later, in 2012, they officiated their union in a customary marriage, solidifying their commitment to each other. However, this was not Joseph's first marriage. He had previously been married to Grace Wanjiku, but fate had different plans for their union. You see, while still married to Grace, love blossomed between Joseph and Mary, igniting a secret affair that would change their lives forever. Grace Wanjiku, Joseph's first wife, later shared her account of her and Joseph's humble beginnings as a young couple in Nairobi. In Nairobi, they made a living buying rice in bulk and repackaging it for sale at a profit. As their journey progressed, her aunt introduced them to the timber business, which they got into with Grace's savings. They hit the jackpot when Joseph got a 53 million Kenyan shillings tender with the Rural Electrification Authority supplying electricity poles. However, this newfound success began to strain their marriage as Joseph's increased business commitments kept him away from home. One fateful day, Grace got a message from an unfamiliar number. The message contained 2 phone numbers and a text indicating that these numbers belonged to her husband's mistress, Mary Kamangara. Despite growing suspicions of infidelity, Joseph vehemently refuted Grace's claims, asserting that Mary was merely a business associate who gave him timber orders. However, everything came crashing down for Grace when Mary herself called Grace to confirm her role as Joseph's mistress. Devastated and desperate, Grace pleaded with Mary to end the affair, even revealing that she had a daughter with Joseph, hoping it would sway her. Regrettably, Joseph left Grace and their daughter in Nairobi and started a new life with Mary in Nakuru. At the same time, Joseph had a romantic involvement with Grace Wangui. Their paths first crossed on 20th October 2007 at a hotel in Nairobi where Wahu worked. Their friendship gradually evolved into a romantic relationship, and in 2009, Wahu became pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy. Joseph then proposed that Wahu moves from Nairobi to Eldoret, a town near Nakuru where he lived with his then-wife Mary. However, life in Eldoret posed challenges for Wahu, and she returned to Nairobi after just a month. After Wahu relocated, her relationship with Joseph went through significant changes. He became distant and stopped providing support for her and their son. Eventually, their relationship came to an end. Joseph and Mary then relocated from Nakuru to Nairobi, where they established a hardware store in Kahawa West, named Saga Hardware, which Mary managed until her demise. But the story doesn't end there. On the other side of Nairobi, there was Judy Wangui. She had left school after primary level and was a single mother raising her son. She worked hard to make a living by selling boiled eggs, sausages, and tea at a car wash in the Ndigwa along Kiambu Road. During the rainy season, she even cleaned the muddy shoes of the car wash patrons. Later, she opened a liquor shop at the car wash, targeting customers who came for the car cleaning services. It was in 2017, during her time at the car wash, that Judy crossed paths with Joseph Kori. However, as the saying goes, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. Joseph's wandering eye once again found solace outside his marriage, and this time it was with none other than Judy. Now you see, when Judy met Joseph, her life changed. She had hit the jackpot. As Joseph's mistress, she enjoyed a life of luxury thanks to his generosity. He provided her with an upscale apartment in the prestigious Four Ways Junction area in Nairobi, and even gifted her a white Mercedes-Benz, the same model and color as his wife Mary's car. To make matters worse, Judy was not shy to flaunt these material goods that Joseph was giving her and their relationship. She created a pseudo Facebook page going by the name The Nick Gabriel, where she shamelessly posted intimate photos with Joseph on Facebook, openly taunting Mary, including insinuating she was pregnant by her husband and calling herself Mrs. Kori, making Mary's pain all the more unbearable. However, after 3 years, Judy and Joseph's relationship took a heartbreaking turn, leading to the eventual breakup. Judy became consumed by bitterness and began stalking Joseph and his family. On Friday, 25th January 2019, she spent the day following them to their residence in Safari Park Gardens Estate, Nairobi. In a desperate attempt to confront Joseph, Judy hired a car and drove to his home, arriving at around 10 a.m. on Saturday, 26th January 2019. She rang the doorbell and Joseph's 6-year-old son answered. Judy offered to take the boy to buy pizza at a nearby mall, claiming it was to find his father. The trusting boy agreed but sought permission from his mother first. Mary came out to see who wanted to take her son out for pizza and was shocked to come face to face with Judy, whom she suspected to be her husband's mistress. Despite her suspicions, Mary remained composed and greeted Judy warmly. Surprisingly, the two women agreed to go out on a lunch date. Mary invited Judy into the house while she prepared for the outing, but Judy declined and waited outside the gate, where she had parked the car she had hired from one Michael Madenge, who owned a car hire company. Subsequently, they left the estate, each in their respective cars, Judy in the hired Toyota Allion and Mary in her Mercedes-Benz. Mary made a brief stop at Thika Road Mall to collect a package before they continued on their way to Homeland Inn, a restaurant located along Thika Road. During their restaurant visit, Judy and Mary were joined by two men for some food and drinks before the men eventually left. Witnesses at the restaurant noted that the two women appeared to be getting along well, even taking selfies and sharing a meal. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary as they left the restaurant together. According to police sources, at around 5 p.m., after an afternoon of seemingly enjoyable moments, Judy convinced Mary to go to her apartment at Four Ways Junction. The two women drove in Mary's Mercedes, but upon getting to Judy's apartment, Mary discovered her husband's pictures on the wall, confirming her worst fears that he was the man of the house. The furniture in the apartment also matched what Mary had in her own home at Safari Park Gardens Estate. Allegedly, Mary proceeded to demand that Judy surrenders the logbook to the car her husband had bought her. An argument then erupted, escalating into a physical fight, where Judy rushed to the kitchen, grabbed a pressure cooker, hitting Mary severely on the head before strangling her, ultimately leading to Mary's tragic demise. The investigation into this tragic incident took a gruesome turn as the police discovered more disturbing details. According to court documents, after taking Mary's life, at around 8:20 p.m., Judy meticulously wrapped her in bed sheets before placing her in the kitchen. CCTV footage derived by the police from her apartment complex show that Judy left the premises at 9:54 p.m. in Mary's Mercedes. She then drove to Homeland Inn, the restaurant they had been earlier with Mary. The police determined that she had driven to the restaurant to retrieve the Toyota Allion, which she drove earlier in the day. However, the security guards denied her permission to leave with the Toyota Allion since she did not have a gate pass. The police further state that Judy then proceeded to park Mary's Mercedes behind Homeland Inn before taking a taxi back to her apartment, where she arrived at 11 p.m. After arriving home, Michael Mathenge, the car hire dealer, reported that Judy called him to aid in the disposal of Mary's body. Michael Mathenge then arrived with his Toyota Noah at Judy's apartment at around 12:07 a.m. The two then drove Mathenge's Toyota Noah and headed to Homeland Inn to try and collect the hired Toyota Allion that Judy had left there during the day. But the security guards stood their ground and denied them permission to leave with the car without a gate pass. Frustrated, Judy then picked Mary's Mercedes that she had parked behind the restaurant, and the two, Judy and Mathenge, headed back to Judy's apartment at Four Ways Junction. They arrived at their apartment at around 1:28 a.m. Mathenge alleges that by this time, he and Judy had agreed on where to dispose of Mary's body and how they would transport it. Upon getting to their apartment, Mathenge further alleges they loaded Mary's deceased body in her Mercedes and they drove off. Using the Kiambu Community Ruiru Road, the two cars being driven by Judy and Mathenge followed each other, and allegedly, upon getting to Committee, they found a police roadblock. Unfortunately, the police searched Mathenge's car, but they did not inspect Mary's car, which Judy was driving and where Mary's deceased body was hidden. Afterwards, they continued to Mugudha Dam, where they disposed of Mary's body. They then drove to Gitambai in Ruiru, where Judy got rid of the bedding she had used to wrap Mary's body and a baby's car seat that was in Mary's car. They then proceeded towards Githunguri via the Kirigiti Riabai Road, dispersing off a blood-stained carpet from Judy's house along the way. Finally, they reached Kwamaiko Trading Center, where they abandoned Mary's car, which was found 2 days later. As the investigation unfolded, the focus turned to Joseph Kori, who had returned home in the evening after spending the day in Ngong. Upon getting home, he found Mary was yet to get home. Frustrated, Joseph sent her a text message saying, "Have fun and don't come back home." The police were also able to confirm his movements through the GPS data from his car and the location of his mobile phone. The following morning, on Sunday 27 January 2019, Joseph stumbled upon a post on the popular Facebook group Kilimani Moms. The post alerted its members to the discovery of a deceased person at Mugudha Dam in Juja. Joseph was drawn by the description of the clothing found on the body as it matched what his wife had been wearing. Fueled by his gut feeling, he headed to Mugudha Dam, where he encountered police officers collecting evidence. Desperate to find his missing wife, he let them know who he was and he searched for his wife Mary. Consequently, he was taken into custody for further questioning. During the investigation, Joseph cooperated with the authorities and led them to Judy's apartment in Four Ways Junction. He knew that Judy had been in contact with his wife on that fateful day, as Mary had sent him photos of them together, leaving him deeply shocked and disturbed. It was in Judy's apartment that the authorities made a chilling discovery: Mary's blood-stained clothes, providing further incriminating evidence against Judy. Furthermore, the autopsy examination conducted on Mary's body revealed the brutal and disturbing details surrounding her untimely demise. Tragically, it was determined that Mary succumbed to a brain concussion after being struck blows to her head, inflicted using a pressure cooker before being suffocated. In addition to the devastating head injuries, the examination revealed multiple bruises on Mary's hands. These findings indicated that she had valiantly fought against her attacker, putting up a courageous struggle before ultimately succumbing to her injuries. Mary Wangui Kamangara was laid to rest at her husband's home in Muiga, Nyeri County on 2nd March 2019 in an emotional farewell. Her 6-year-old son wrote in crayon his tribute saying, "Dear Mom, I love you so much and I will miss you." All three individuals involved, Judy, Joseph, and the car hire dealer Michael Mathenge, were arrested and charged with Mary's murder. However, Joseph was later released due to a lack of evidence. He neither had been present at the scene of the crime nor acted as an accomplice in any way. Joseph was expected to testify in court against his former mistress Judy in June of 2020. However, he did not get to testify since the prosecution issued a new demand to the court, demanding the government analyst exhibits. 3 years later, there has been no official news or updates regarding this matter. It is reasonable to assume that the COVID-19 pandemic might have caused delays and disruptions in the case's proceedings. Meanwhile, both Judy and Michael are still being held in custody, awaiting further legal proceedings. The case against them remains ongoing, and we will share any new developments with you as soon as we receive them. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any updates regarding this case. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in our next video where we delve into the tragic case of Tekra Muigai, the Kiroshe Brewery's heiress. What happened? Did she fall down the stairs, or was foul play involved? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to be notified when the video is up. Until then, please take care and stay safe out there.